Hey guys, welcome to the show. This episode of the COG Handbook, we're doing the long awaited, much asked for, and I'm guessing highly anticipated, sawed off shotgun along with the Gnasher. We're going to do both shotguns actually in one little breakdown because there's not a whole lot to the shotguns individually in and of themselves. Plus, it's kind of nice to compare the two against each other, particularly in the jib range, because that's been something of a hot button topic item across the board for pretty much everything coming and going, particularly since they made a change to the sawed off just this week with they changed the jib range on it. They lowered it theoretically, and it is what they said was they made it equal to the Gnasher jib range, which at first and playing it online I didn't really feel like they did. So I was kind of curious to get them in here in a kind of a tested environment where me and Junior could break them down and take a look and kind of really see for ourselves how this jib range was working out. So you can see right now, we're on dry dock again, of course, and I think dry dock works really good for this. We are roughly one tile, or one half of a tile. You see, I'm standing on the middle mark of it. He's standing on the edge. And right now, I'm kind of setting, for the sawed-off shotgun, I'm setting right on the outside of the jib range, where I'm taking damage from it, but I'm not getting jibbed by it. And that line where you take damage and you get jibbed by it, it's a very fine line. Literally, you can set to where you're taking damage and you can scoot your guy up 2, 3, 4 inches relative to the game environment, and it will just devastate you. Now, right outside the jib range, as we can see, right outside the jib range of the sawed off, the Gnasher is a 2-hit down. So, two shot down, regular, 1 shot active, within that same little distance. I'm not sure what we could call that area, but it's the jib range. It's the jib range. So right outside the jib range, as we can see there, like I am now, the Gnasher is going to be a 2-shot down, 1 shot active to down. Now the curious thing is, as you can see, I just nudged myself up just a little bit. So let's see if we can test the line. And I'm fairly sure you're going to expect the results to be that just what we saw. Because and that's a good example of just how fine that line is from taking damage to being completely obliterated. Now, in and of itself, I wanted to compare that same type of distance to the Gnasher because, as I mentioned before, right now, with the change that just came through this week, the jib range on the sawed-off and the jib range on the Gnasher are supposed to be equal. And, to me, the jib range on the sawed-off, that's a pretty good distance. I mean, that's a pretty good distance. It really is. And it doesn't feel like the jib range on the Gnasher is quite that far. Just the one shot jib range, just the blow. The blow versus the kadoosh. And when I'm online playing, it seems like the kadoosh is a little bit further than the blow. But to my surprise, as we really broke it down inside and tested it out in here, they are, for the most part, equal. I didn't think that they were, but yeah, they are, as we can see. Because I was right on the take damage line from Junior's sawed off, and he scooted up just a little bit to kind of cross the line into the jib range, and sure enough, the Gnasher jibs in that range as well. So they are, for all extents and purposes, equal. As you can see, 1 shot didn't do anything, or it didn't down him, didn't jib him, so he's outside the line, and they're pretty much the same. The only as far as the jib range. Now, outside the jib range, the sawed-off's not really going to do anything. There's a fine little area there that it'll let you know that it's knocking on your door. It'll beat you up as far as damage, as we can see there, but it won't down you. It won't kill you. The Gnasher is a 2-shot down outside of that jib range, 1-shot active. But the Gnasher has the advantage of the fire rate, ammo, and in and of itself, the gun's powerful. I mean, the Gnasher's beast. The sawed-off is just it's hard to handle. When you're fighting against it, and it can be a real real area of frustration when you start getting 3, 4, 5 on the opposing team that are running the thing. It can be hard to deal with, but when you break it down and you look at it in this way, it doesn't seem like that formidable of a weapon, but I think it's just the sheer numbers of it that really leads to a lot of the frustration we see with that gun online. But I just wanted to bring this to you guys. I think this is a nice comparison. It kind of puts it in perspective with the Gnasher. So, it's not as bad as it seems. And honestly, a lot of this surprised me. It's another demonstration of just how fine that line is with that gun, where you take damage or you just jib all over the place. But I mean, the Gnasher is comparable for sure. I mean, it's got the same jib range. It's, of course, it's a 2-shot down outside that jib range, but outside that jib range for the sawed-off, it's nothing. And there's a real small area in which it'll redden you up. But I mean, as you can see here, it's still a 2-shot down all the way across one tile, one floor tile here on dry dock. So then the Gnasher's got some range, for sure. Has some range. We're going to back it up here in a minute and test out the Gnasher, pretty much comparable to what we was testing out a mid-range on the assault rifles. So, I mean, right here we go. That's pretty far. It's almost what we were calling mid-range on the assault rifles. And this is the shotgun, And the Gnasher still holds its own. I mean, at this distance, you're up to a 3-shot down, but, geez, man. It's freaking Gnasher. It's not an assault rifle, it's a Gnasher. So, it really can hold its own. Do not underestimate the gun or write it off. By all means, personally, I prefer it to the sawed-off. I'm not a big user of the sawed-off. I do use it. I'm not a complete hypocrite. I have to use it to get the kills and stuff that I need for my medals, because I do want my medals. So, I have used it. I do use it. I think I've got almost 200 kills with it. But, hey, it's not my go-to. I highly prefer the Gnasher. Highly prefer the Gnasher. So what I wanted to do here was bring you guys a few samples of the type of environment or situation you'll find yourself in. Of course, this is still set up, and, it's not completely crazy as it can be online. And that's roughly where a sawed-off user is charging you, and you're holding a Gnasher. Now, we run a few tests of this, and basically it boils down to timing with the Gnasher. You're not... I don't know. It's definitely a timing thing. As you can see there, if you fire too soon, you'll get 2 shots in him, yeah. But the problem is the 2 shots combined won't down him. So you almost have to... just kind of relax, and as you can see, even with the active, I mean, he would have got me, but he rolled back. In a live situation, I would have been meat sauce. So, but as I was saying, timing's the trick. You want to try and get the first shot on him when he's still out somewhere in 2-shot range, so that you're doing at least 50% damage to him. But you want to do it. You want to do it when he's still far enough out that you got time to get the second shot in before he crosses the kill line with that sawed-off. So, I mean, that really is the trick. And, of course, the old headshot's always the stops the train immediately if you can pop the head. That always makes me giggle when I do that online. I love to do that to those guys. But, you can't count on it. So you definitely want to try to get used to really Right there. That was the perfect example there. See, I got the first shot when he was about the time he entered two shot range, or 2 shot down range, and it still gave me time to pop that second shot before he got close enough to jib me with that shotgun, because he pulled the trigger right as he died. So I mean that's the kind of timing and setup you want to work for sure, because it can be difficult. And right here I'm just kind of playing around to see just how easy it is to roll away from this thing, and I'm kind of working on that half. He's a half a tile away on the floor, because that's where he starts crossing into the jib range, and that's when I try to roll. It for the most part it works okay, but you can't hesitate whatsoever. I kind of hesitated on that last one a little bit, and I just got spray painted everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Now right here you can see we both shot. We're both within the damage range of the sawed-off, but we're not within the jib range of the sawed-off. And what I wanted to test here was an idea that, me and Junior was talking. It seems like that gun jibs a lot further range than what we were seeing as we were testing it here. And the thought I had was, well, what if you already damaged? What if you've taken some damage, right? And then you're within that damage zone of the sawed-off. Then maybe that kind of leads to a feeling that the jib range is further than what it actually is. And that was kind of what, I've been running under that assumption from day one with the sawed-off, that it contributed to that. But to my surprise, my utter surprise, it does not seem to work that way. At least to a reasonable extent that you would know something's wrong. I mean, if your Crimson Omen is completely red and you're in this zone and somebody sawed off, yeah, it may get you. But what my thought was is you just started taking damage. Maybe it's just showing up 20, 30%, kind of like what I'm seeing here. And then you take a sawed off just like that, but nothing. And that was such a surprise to me. I fully expected that gun to jib with a little bit of damage, just a little bit of extra damage, and then that gun, then you take a shot from that gun within its damage range, but not its jib range. I fully expected that gun to just jib your ass all over the place, but I was surprised. Now here I want to talk about the blind fire of the Gnasher, because this is a item that I get asked about a lot, and I see a lot of people messing up on. I want you to look right there at how I laid that out. Basically, what you got to keep in mind with the Gnasher, and I'm going to leave this on the screen so you can study it while I talk about it, is the blind fire with the Gnasher does not go to the center of the screen. It goes to a spot relative, as we can see, pretty much center of the head on height, and the outside of the character's elbow, the trigger elbow, the right hand, that right elbow. So it goes straight up from right outside the arm, right outside the elbow, and straight across from the center of the head. And that is pretty much where the center of a blind fire is. Now what I see a lot of time is people wanting to use the center of the screen. If you want to use the center of the screen, you need a pop shot. That's where you pull the trigger, or you pull the aim down sight, the left trigger, right before you pull the right trigger, and it'll pull it up to the center so that your shot goes to the center of the screen. You have to keep that in mind. That is very important. Now, what I also want to demonstrate is something that can kind of be misleading to you in and of a way, and that's right here. What I'm going to get Junior to do is actually shoot me a little bit so that my Crimson Omen comes up. Now, when the Crimson Omen comes up, and let's say you're in a shotgun battle, the tendency that I've noticed is that people will run, they'll try to use the Crimson Omen as a targeting device. But the problem is, as we can see right here, the blind fire does not in any way seriously line up with the Crimson Omen. I mean, you can use it and you'll land a few pellets, and you're probably going to lose the fight, because if you're using that Crimson Omen to line up that blind fire, then you're only landing a couple of pellets. There it is. That's the breakdown. Now it's not quite exactly as the graphic I just showed you, where it's the center of the head and the right of the elbow. And the reason that is off is because I've I'm on this catwalk here, and I've actually got my camera backed up against the wall behind me, so it's on the angle off a little bit. But it's still going to, the same rules will apply. That's where it's going to be if your camera is in its natural neutral place behind your guy. That's where it'll line up. So, you know, if you got your camera run up on something, be aware of that, because that can always be a problem. So that just about wraps this up for the shotguns. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Not a lot going on, but a few important ranges there that you need to be aware of in situations. So I'm going to kind of leave you guys with a little bit of shotgun dueling dance with me and Junior. See how this works out real quick. Oh, the blind fire, baby. Payback, Junior. Payback. Thanks, guys. Catch you on the next episode.